MAGA Republicans are calling for defunding the police department and defunding the FBI now. That's a good one. I like that one. Well, guess what? The refuse to provide funding is going to keep communities safe and secure. You talked about health, about crime. Well, it's outrageous. My budget invests in public safety. It includes funding for more training, more support for law enforcement. At a time when they expect to play many roles. We expect our cops to be social workers. We expect them to be psychologists, mental health counselors. You know, more cops are killed responding to domestic violence calls than anything else. Do you know that? Well, folks, I don't want to defund them. They need more help. We don't expect a cop to be everything from a psychologist to a counselor. These departments need more investment in this kind of help. And we're going to fund proven strategies for accountable and effective community policing so cops know the communities they serve. The communities know them. We've got to get cops back on the street. Back on the street in the communities they know. Where they know the people, where they stop in and they know the guy who owns the liquor store. They know the preacher who runs the local school, the local ministry. They know the person who runs the local grocery store. When we did that in the Bible crime just plummeted.
What?
The lies. There you go. This bitch.
The lies.
Joe Biden, please stop lying. Please. Welcome to Love, Life, and Marriage with
The
Woods. I am Seiko.
And I'm Sharon.
And welcome to our channel. Please do the following. Please like, subscribe, share. Hit the notification bell at the bottom of this video. That way when we go live or post any content, you'll be one of the first to view it. Also, if you'd like to support this ministry financially, first of all, thank you so much for those of you who have been supporting this ministry. We do appreciate your love, gifts, and tangible expressions of support. But if you'd like to support this ministry, you can do so by clicking the donation links below at the bottom of the video. Also, if you'd like to become a bodybuilder, body lifer, that's it. Body lifer. You can be a bodybuilder too, but if you'd like to become a body lifer, because that's our term we want to use now, a body lifer, you can do so by clicking the donation links below, whether you want to donate or give periodically, monthly, semi-monthly, weekly, daily, annually, whatever.
Daily.
Yeah, even daily. I wouldn't care. That'd be great for us too. But yes, but anyway, if you'd like to do that, please click the donation link below at the bottom of the video. Also, BCV merchandise, BCV gear. We are going to be in the process of transitioning and moving and importing our merchandise over to our web channel.
So we can have some love,
Website.
life, and marriage.
Yes.
Merch.
Yes, that's the plan. So we're going to be moving from Teespring because unfortunately a lot of you have been asking about our hats. And unfortunately, Teespring, which is our distributor for right now, for some strange reason, they have not been able to continue distributing our hats, which has really been a lot of the draw of our support and for the merchandise that we have with BCV. So we're in the process of doing that. So we ask for your patience, continue patience with that. We'll be getting those situations resolved and back up again very, very soon. But thank you. But there's other merchandise you can get online under the Teespring and BCV link. So anyway, you just saw Joe Biden, Jim Crow Joe, aka Beijing Biden. This guy, I cannot believe he fixed his mouth to say that. He said that MAGA Republicans were responsible for defunding the police.
Yeah, and that's what we want to do.
Yeah, that's what we want to do. I mean, this is just amazing to me. So let's go ahead and share the screen here. Biden again claims that MAGA Republicans called for defunding the police. Now, everybody knows he's lying. I mean, anybody that's been watching and reading the news, you know that Joe Biden is lying. But he says on Thursday, President Joe Biden blasted MAGA Republicans, asserting that they want to defund the police and the FBI, flipping the GOP's continual claims that the Democrats were the anti-police party. Well, we know that they were. And we'll produce the receipts in a minute.
He must think we don't. We have amnesia.
Well, some black folk do. I mean, because where are the riding with Biden folk at? You tell me where they at. They're quiet. They are very quiet. Very quiet. Still waiting on y'all to tell us why y'all voted for this man.
And defund the police came with BLM.
Sure did.
That was all in cahoots together.
Sure was. Sure was.
That was on their sign. On
their sign. It sure was. They try to take down and all that kind of stuff. But, yeah, so as you heard him, what he said in the video, he's making these lies and assertions that it was the Republicans who wanted to defund the police. But everybody in Obama knows that's a lie.
I bet there were 10 people at that rally.
I believe that. You being
it was
gracious.
awfully quiet in there.
You being gracious with that. But some of the things that had occurred since 2020, after the election, things in our community didn't get any better. I mean, look at what's happening right now under this administration. But bottom line, Joe Biden is a liar. Joe Biden is lying. This ain't the first time he done lied, and this ain't the first. It won't be the last time he gets caught lying. But let's have a little history lesson, shall we? Because I remember how this article, how Democrats. This is NBC News, so this is no right-wing news article. This is from NBC, mainstream media. How Democrats went from defund to refund the police.
So if they went from it, that means that they were there.
That's right.
Prior to.
Yeah, they've been. They like I said, everybody know that these people wanted to defund the police due to lies, and like you mentioned about BLM. As crime rates rise of the midterms, black mayors of the nation's largest cities are leading the call to crack down on lawlessness. Now, most of our cities in the hood are ran by who?
Democrats.
Exactly. Same ones who voted for this man are the same ones now that are talking about that we want police. Well, okay. Washington, a young Democratic member of Congress, declared the defund police movement dead on Thursday. And black Democratic mayors from San Francisco, New York, Chicago to Washington, D.C. are moving to increase police budgets and end the reign of criminals. Well,
you opened the door for that.
That's what happens. Yeah, that's what happens when you get rid of police. You're going to have those who would have police go after to be running the streets. As violent crime surges ahead of the November midterms, President Joe Biden and the Democratic Party are toughening their talk on crime. Sure they are. And refunding the police only 2 years after some progressive activists took up the call to defund them. Progressive activists. Yeah, it was a whole political party. It was a whole Democrat party. But let's continue. Quote, people are still against crime and people want to be safe, end quote, said former Philadelphia Mayor Michael Nutter in an interview. Quote, you're seeing in communities all across the country that when folks actually came to grips with the conflict of rising crime rates in an effort to quote unquote take away from policing, the public, being way ahead of the politicians as usual, figured out, no, that's not a good idea. We want to be safe, end quote. Biden traveled to New York City Thursday to meet with the city's recently elected Democratic Mayor Eric Adams, a former police officer who has vowed to clean up the streets. Adams' victory in the crowded Democratic Party last year was seen by many in the party as a sign that voters were done with anti-police rhetoric. 2 years after Democratic officials across the country aligned themselves with protesters demanding the police be reined in and progressives back the elections of reformist prosecutors, the mayors of many of the nation's largest cities are now reversing course and leading calls for a tougher stance on crime. Nutter, who is black, has been on something of a crusade against Philadelphia's reformist district attorney, Larry Krasner, who is white. After the top prosecutor said at a December news conference that, quote, we don't have a crisis of lawlessness. We don't have a crisis of crime. We don't have a crisis of violence. Really? Talk about delusional. Okay. In a Philadelphia Inquirer op-ed, Nutter wrote that, quote, it takes a certain audacity of ignorance and white privilege to say that right now, end quote.
What?
In other words, you can't be white and say the truth and speak truth because you're white. But anyway, uh, noting that people of color living in struggling parts of the city were often the ones most victimized by crime. Well, that's what happens when you defund the police. Where do you think most of the crime happens? Quote, we have to disabuse people of this flawed premise that black and brown people are against the police. Black and brown people are against police abuse, Nutter said. As Democrats, we have to do two complicated things at the same time. We have to ensure public safety and reform the abuses of the criminal justice system. Conservatives have for decades exploited fears, often racialized, of crime for political benefit. Is that true? I mean, is that true? Okay. Only 46% of Americans approved of Biden's handling of crime in December, according to an ABC News poll, while 56% of voters in a January Fox News survey said Republicans would do a better job on the issue. Democrats acknowledge their answers on crime, stopping the flow of illegal guns, addressing poverty, reimagining law enforcement, treating addiction are more difficult to convey in a campaign. But James Carville, the veteran Democratic strategist who in the 90s helped Bill Clinton overcome concerns that Democrats were soft on crime, and said that the party would be wise to follow the lead of its black mayors who are responding to their constituents' concerns. Quoting, if you see something that your voters in particular encounter every day, then you've given up, he said. You've got to own this or this is going to own you. Carver said a fringe element in the party had covered the rest into a fear of talking about crime, but that its influence had waned. He said Democrats had a good case to make by arguing Republicans were the party of cop-beating January 6th insurrectionists and former President Donald Trump's lawlessness, which is a lie.
Wow.
Quote, the spike we had in crime, he says, took place in the fourth year of a Republican presidency, not a Democratic one, he said, referring to the Trump era. Data show violent crime did indeed rise during the pandemic, though the causes are disputed. Well, number one, the reason why it rose, because you had the shutdowns of everybody's livelihood, that increases crime, and then two,
the doggone borders were open.
And the borders were open, but then also number three, when you tell these Democrat mayors and politicians in these cities in the hood, you tell the police to pull back and to leave these criminals alone, then that's what happens.
And that included the rioters.
Yeah. That's, the season of love. Remember that? Article says, and the ubiquity of internet-connected cameras has allowed images of carjackings and homicides and even brazen train heists to enter the political bloodstream, just as a video of police brutality did for the racial justice movement 2 years ago.
What?
Yeah. Again, this is ABC.
NBC.
Yeah, that too. Still, national crime rates are nowhere near what they were in the 1990s, and crime ranks low on the list of priorities for most voters. But the public's confidence in police has recovered from the low it hit after George Floyd's murder at the hands of police officers in 2020, and a growing share of Americans want to increase spending on law enforcement. A December CNN poll found 76% of Americans said the federal government was not doing enough to address violent crime. Republicans are looking to once again run law and order campaigns, and crime has already appeared in GOP TV ads in such key contests as Wisconsin's Senate race. Democrats' soft on crime policies have emboldened criminals in Democrat-run cities, said Republican National Committee Chair Ronna McDaniel. The playing field has become so tilted toward conservatives on the issue that Senator Marco Rubio, a Florida Republican, has had some success trying to outflank his Democratic opponent on who supports the police most, even though his opponent, Representative Val Demings, is herself a former police chief. I'm just going to scroll down and read the rest of this. This is something else that's rather interesting. It says, the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee has accused several Republican candidates of choosing lawlessness over law and order by tying them to the January 6th insurrection. But a senior advisor to the group made headlines in conservative media for tweeting that police are coordinating with journalists to falsely manufacture crime waves and push propaganda.
Hmm.
Gun laws have little hope of passing in Congress, of course, but Carville noted that there's always something Biden could dust off: the controversial 1994 crime bill he disowned as a mistake 2 years ago during the Democratic presidential primary. Carver says, quote, "You can say whatever you want about the crime bill, but from the time the crime bill was passed until 2019, there was a significant drop in crime," Carville said. Now, you can argue causation, but you can't argue correlation. And here's something that we found as we were doing this video here, ladies and gentlemen. Joe Biden in 92, and his authoring and writing this crime bill, he said that he did everything and put everything in that bill to hang people except for jaywalking. You see the title right there. June 20th, 2019. Joe Biden bragged about a harsh 92 crime bill that did everything but hang people for jaywalking. I'm going to read some quotes that he says here. Democratic presidential candidate and former Vice President Joe Biden pushed crime legislation in 1992 on the theme that it was aggressive and going after criminals. Directing his comments toward critics of the bill as too weak on crime, Biden specifically boasted of how frequently the bill would result in pursuing the death penalty. The resurfaced comments come at a time when Biden is facing backlash for his past positions, and has even hinted at reversing his stance on supporting capital punishment. Quoting now, "Let me tell you what's in the bill, and I'll let you decide whether or not this is weak," he said. "Let me get down here a compendium on the things that are in the bill. 1, the death penalty. It provides 53 death penalty offenses. Weak as can be, you know. We do everything but hang people for jaywalking in this bill," Biden added. "That's weak stuff," he said. The 1992 comments are a stark contrast from Biden's current rhetoric on the campaign trail. So this just showing you all that
He's a liar.
Pretty much so, absolutely. When Biden expressed a fondness for being able to work with and find compromises with pro-segregation lawmakers of the 20th century, several high-profile Democrats condemned the remarks as racially insensitive. Biden does not appear to be backing down either, while maintaining considerable support among black lawmakers and a sizable chunk of prospective Democratic primary voters. But things could quickly turn bad for Biden, who would be center stage next week during the next round. This is in 2019, but his attitude toward the crime bill was pretty braggadocious. That's the whole point. And so, Joe Biden is a liar, number one. Number two, Joe Biden does not care about black people. Number three, Joe Biden is one of the, if not the worst, presidents we've had in our nation's history.
I would have to say he is.
Yeah, he's worse than Jimmy Carter.
Him, then Barack, and then Carter.
Really?
Yeah, that's how I would rank him.
You ranked him like that? Okay, that's a fair ranking.
Yeah.
So Democrats will always, we're talking politics right now because politics affects how we live, and policies thereof affect how we live. For the life of me, I don't know why anybody that's a Christian would support a party that has nothing to do with Christianity, has nothing, and I'm talking about the policy. We're talking about the people. We're talking about the policies that these people make that affects our lives. I mean, just look at their platform. Look at what they believe, what they hold to, just on just basic issues, right? But I guess we'll do this. Because this kind of ties in to the unrest that we see in our cities and the damage that policies and laws have created. Mm-hmm. So my wife wanted to know we were going to talk about this in another video, but we'll talk about it now. We'll close out with this. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter and related causes received nearly $83 billion from corporations.
Hold up. Hey. Hold up. What is this?
You see this right here? Do you see this picture right here? Ferguson. This was during Ferguson unrest and stuff like that. That's what the pictures is from. But this stuff carried over also in other civil unrests in our nation. But Black Lives Matter was at the forefront of all of this. Make no mistake about it. Black Lives Matter definitely had their hand in this.
Do you think they plan to make this this movement,
Which means
BLM movement? Do you think this was planned for them to put this together?
Put what together?
The movement itself.
Yeah, it was planned. This was planned after the Trayvon Martin thing, but it took on a different shape.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was definitely. I mean, you had 3 lesbians who started this whole thing.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
It was planned. And
took
they're
that money and ran.
Yeah, but this is what they've accumulated now. $83 billion.
But I guess my question is, who oversees this money?
Nobody. They're an entity of their own. There was this like they say, this is a shakedown. This was a shakedown, but it was a shakedown of willing participants.
Yeah, they all
ignorant, willing, and quote unquote guilt driven.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
absolutely.
so this whole white guilt thing, but whatever. So let's read this. Let's read how many companies and organizations and entities, quote unquote, donated to this scam.
Y'all might be surprised by some of these names. I know I was.
The Claremont Institute Center for American Way of Life explained the necessity of their report in an article published in Newsweek, where the center asserted that the 2020 BLM movement was about more than just rioting and destruction. The center explained that, quote, the BLM pressure campaigns, harassment, and moral blackmail also amounted to possibly the most lucrative shakedown of corporate America in its history. Do y'all hear that? The most lucrative shakedown. You can think of any other scam in our nation's history. By far, BLM, these women, quote unquote women, knew what they were doing and probably won't go to jail, won't spend any time in prison.
That's what I don't understand. I guess because they willingly gave the money.
Not just that, but number one, I mean, who's gonna charge them? When you have wicked Democrats running the White House and running the Senate. I mean, the House is not going to do so much. The House is going to do so much. The House is basically being ran by Republicans, and that's very, very slim. But they can't do anything. They're not going to do anything with this. They're just not. But it says, at the point of reference, $82.9 billion is more than the GDP of 46 African countries. In 2022, the Ford Motor Company's profits were $23 billion. Do y'all hear that? They made more than Ford. They also noted, quote, the sum of $82.9 billion includes more than $123 million to the BLM parent organizations directly, as well as much more to other organizations supporting BLM's agenda. The list that several popular corporations from a wide range of different industries supplied the movement with large sums of cash. Walmart, for example, which is based in Arkansas, gave a whopping $100 million in support of BLM and related causes focusing on racial equity. Amazon gave even more, supplying the movement with an astonishing $169.5 million. Meanwhile, the pharmaceutical company AbbVie gave the movement over $62 million in funding. Allstate gave $7.7 million to the cause, and American Express gave $50 million. Apple gave $100 million, while AT&T gave $21.5 million. The movement and its causes received another $90 million from Nike. United Airlines, JetBlue, Southwest Airlines, and Delta Airlines all gave money to BLM and related causes as well.
Were these like in forms of, I guess, like donations?
It'll be tax write-offs. It's tax write-offs. Yeah. It's donation.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they just wrote out checks
Yeah.
and gave to the organization.
Yes. Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. Bank of America, meanwhile, provided $18.25 million to BLM and related causes, while Wells Fargo diverted $210 million toward BLM and related causes. Deloitte gave $85 million to BLM and related causes.
Now hold on. How do banks make those kind of donations? I thought that would be like, I don't know, like a conflict of interest or something. I didn't know they were allowed to make donations with other people's money.
Probably doing it with shareholders. Probably there's loopholes to all this stuff. I mean, again, they gonna write them off. These banks are basically. I mean, I don't know the intricate details behind it, but it's all a scam. But they did it under the guise of donations. Wow. But banks do that pretty much all the time. When you have, when you see banks standing with those big checks standing, they those are donations and this write-offs, and you probably have a whole bunch of different, loopholes that's involved in that as well. Asset management giant BlackRock put a shocking $810 million towards BLM and related causes, while other powerful financial institutions also bankrolled the movement, with Capital One giving $10 million, Morgan Stanley giving $30 million, U.S. Bank giving $160 million, and Goldman Sachs giving $10.1 million. Meanwhile, Prudential Financial supplied the movement and its related causes with a sum of $450 million, but was outdone by MasterCard, which gave $500 million. The database found that Boeing gave $15.6 million, while Northrop Grumman gave $2 million and Raytheon gave $25 million. The Walt Disney Company gave $8.8 million to BLM and related causes, while the Pokemon Company gave $200,000.
Well, Walt Disney owns Channel 13.
ABC. They own
or
all
ABC.
ABC channels.
Yeah.
Yes. They own them all. The Claremont Institute Center for the American Way of Life also explained how the funds have been used, remarking that, quote, the global network is investing tens of millions of dollars to support future operations, purchasing luxury real estate. Now, they're socialists, so why are you involved in capitalism? Whatever. Engaging in nepotism.
Of course.
Dispersing grants to dozens of BLM chapters and revolutionary organizations, and operating a PAC to elect progressive community leaders, activists, and working class candidates fighting for Black liberation, end quote. Meanwhile, local BLM chapters are spending millions on activism and initiatives to defund police departments.
What you say?
And BLM at school is indoctrinating children around the country in critical race theory and queer theory, teaching them to hate themselves, their peers, and their country. Left-wing nonprofits are effecting wholesale societal change too radical for normal legislative avenues, constituting a form of shadow governance, they went on to note. The agenda has also seeped into the financial industry's loan operations. The center explains, pointing out that banks are issuing billions of dollars in subprime loans to help end systemic racism. All while corporations are funding leftist bail funds that release violent rioters and criminals onto our streets and collaborating to create racialized, anti-meritocratic hiring schemes. The shakedown may be viewed as a form of reparations made to self-declared enemies of the American nation and way of life, they added.
My goodness.
82.9. Basically, just round it off, be even. 83 billion. With the B, boys and girls. So the question that I have is, how many churches and how many Christians support this stuff? You know, we left the church that was trying to march for BLM. White guilt.
Yep.
White pastor, mixed leadership. When this whole thing went down in 2020 with George Floyd and all this other kind of stuff, white pastors were talking about, you know,
they wanted to
join hands and march for Black Lives Matter.
In support of.
Like, man, we out of here. We out of here.
He got so much backlash. He backed down from it, talking about they pulled out because of the weather.
Right.
Like, no, you didn't.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so this is again, ladies and gentlemen, policies matter. What we believe matter. Who you support and who you vote for matter. I hope and pray that this will be Joe Biden's last term, that he will not run or he will not win re-election, provided nobody, you know what,
is there
in
not
the
an
polls.
age limit?
Or he'll be the oldest. Matter of fact, he is the oldest president, I think.
Because how old was Reagan? He was pretty up there, but
he was in the 70s, I think. I think close to 70. I forgot. But nonetheless, Joe Biden would be he'd be the oldest if he continues on. But anyway, my prayer is that he doesn't. That this will be the last one for him. Whether it be Trump or DeSantis, you know, it definitely. I hope y'all, you know, realize the mess y'all made. Those of y'all who voted for this foolishness.
I don't think they'll ever admit it.
Yeah, they probably won't, and never will. They will never come on anybody's channel, anybody's live to discuss how they messed up.
They should stand before their congregations and tell them that they screwed up.
And some of these pastors need to step down for voting for this crap too. So, but anyway, that's another topic another time. But let us know what y'all think regarding the reports that you heard and read with us regarding Joe Biden and also BLM. Again, do you think these people should go to jail? I mean, I think it's an obvious answer. I believe that this is a scam, and you have the evidence right here where somebody should be spending a lifetime in prison, and that goes for all three of the founders. They definitely need to. But anyway, let us know what you think in the comments below. Again, thank you so much for watching with us. Like this video, share the video. Again, subscribe to this channel. My wife said in the last video she wants 1,000. She wants 1,000. Listen, don't do it for me because y'all not gonna do it for me, but do it for her. I mean, yeah, do it for her. I mean, y'all like her. So anyway, that's our time. We thank you so much for yours. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.